So I'll just go ahead and start.
Yep.
And then we'll just go. Hey, what's up, fam? My name's Andy the Fifth. I'm the owner of Culture Street. So Kyle, let's get started, man.
Tell us about your childhood. Who are you? How'd you grow up?
Childhood was kind of tough, not gonna lie, but I survived. So childhood, I'm a first generation American. Both my parents are immigrants. I am half Mexican, half Greek. So as a first generation American, I feel like it's a big part of Culture Street's story because unfortunately my parents divorced when I was young. I didn't get Mexican culture. I didn't get Greek culture. I got 80s immigrant culture where my mom didn't teach us Spanish. Like, she felt it was unnecessary because back then you wanted to be as American as possible. So yeah, because of dysfunctional stuff and divorce and all that, we moved around a lot. So I never had an opportunity to plant and to, become a part of culture, because culture is very fluid. It's kind of where you are, and in each specific place, even in Denver has different culture, right? And so, but I feel that I grew up cultureless, if you can say that, because by the time I was graduating high school, I had already gone through 14 schools. So I didn't even have a friend group, right? By the time I'm graduating high school.
So you said you went to 14 different schools. Were those all in the same state, same town?
No.
Or were you moving around a lot
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
kid?
We moved around a lot. Like I said, I was born in Kansas. But, I think it was only a few years. We moved to Florida. Parents got divorced. We were in Virginia. She remarried a Navy guy. He got out of the Navy. We went to Washington State, and then we went back to North Carolina, then back to Florida. Yeah, so there was several, cross-country places that I lived, and again, I still feel that is a part of what created maybe the culture in me. I got a lot of different stuff that I've experienced all over this country, and for a period of time, I was kind of confused, right? Because we all want to know who we are, and a lot of who we are is based on our culture. I mean, I think we've heard latchkey kid.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
So I was the peak of that, where in the 90s, that's where both parents really started working, but of course single parents, we were the first latchkey kids. So no, my culture was TV. That's it, because when you move so much and you don't have the friend groups, like and we didn't have the internet, and yeah, we had Nintendo and Sega, but I didn't have a lot of money, so I only had Nintendo and maybe a couple games, right? So yeah, it became a lot of TV, man. Like, you just come home, watch TV. I attempted to, get into skating, but my big tall ass fell a couple times, and I was like, skating's not for tall people. I did pick up street basketball. I did do that. And that was an experience for me that did give me some of that community, because when you play street ball, you can go play street ball anywhere.
Yep.
You can walk up to a park, you not know anybody, and eventually you're going to get in the game, right? And if you're good, or you got some skills, then they're going to keep you in the game, and then that's where the shit talking starts and the laughing and stuff like that, right? So I would say that's pretty much it. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about street basketball. I used to do that shit almost every day.
So what led to you joining the Air Force? How did you make that decision? How did you decide?
I think a lot, the same reason why a lot of people do. Didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. Right? I didn't know what I wanted to go to college for. And by this time it was like, this is when that whole statement, do you want to go to college or work at McDonald's, was really big, in the 90s. And it was like, and I'd already worked at McDonald's, as a kid, so I definitely didn't want to keep doing that.
Yep.
But I didn't know what I wanted to go to college for. I didn't want to be a lawyer, doctor, I felt the arts, but of course by then the arts were no, like you're not going to survive in the arts. So that just became a non-issue. So it was one of those things where I was like, well, military. And I will say this, I was influenced heavily by my mother. She was in love with the military. Her dad was a colonel in the Mexican army. So yeah, when I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do, I was like, well, I'll join the military. I took the ASVAB, and I got a 92. The recruiter's like, what? Like, he was shocked. And I'm like, he goes, that's a good score. Well, I went to the recruiter's office to tell him I ain't doing that. And I was thinking maybe they would try to give me another job. I wasn't completely out, but he wasn't there. The only recruiter that was there was the Air Force recruiter. And so I just walked into his office and I said, hey man, I got a 92 on my ASVAB. I was about to go Navy. You got any jobs that would be on an airplane? Because if I do this, I only want to be on a plane on mission. I know I can't fly. I can't be a pilot, but I know there's jobs where you're on a plane on mission. I don't know what, And he goes, 92, huh? I say, yep. He goes, I got the perfect job for you. And he pulls out like this envelope from underneath the stack. Bam. And it's the AWACS job.
Okay.
Computer radar specialist on the AWACS, the big radar dish,
Okay.
So yeah, I was going to be on mission, and my job was to repair and keep everything running on that plane, right? I said, sign me up. And so graduating high school, I think I went in in a month. I went a month later. My school was one of the longest, minus medical, tech schools in the Air Force. And ended up in Biloxi, Mississippi, where the majority of the training was. The first 3 months was electronics training. We got 2 years of electronic training in 3 months. Crammed. 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, just nothing. This is where I'm going to attribute it to my non-diagnosed ADHD. Back then, it was forgetfulness. It was no concept of time. It was dirty this or left this. I started getting a lot of infractions, what they called 341s. If you were in the Air Force, you'll know what I'm talking about. 341s. They're little pieces of paper. You had to hold 3 of them at a time. And for any infraction, airman, give me a 341. Airman, give me a 341. I didn't shave. Airman, give me a 341. I ended up getting a big old stack because had I been in a shorter tech school, I probably would have survived. I would have made it. But because it was 8 months long, my file got too thick. Woo, 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 woo on my door. She's like, Sergeant Hall wants to see you now. Oh, I knew I messed up.
That's the oh shit moment.
I knew I messed up bad. So I go down there. She had my file open on the desk. Oh. You're done. You're done. You lied? Dude, he lost his mind. His ever motherfucking mind. But then it was over. And it became over when I had to sign my last paperwork, hand in my IDs, and, get driven to the Greyhound bus station. Yeah, that was the end of that life and the beginning of a unknown life, sleeping on my brother's floor.
You moved back to your family in Naples after your discharge. Where'd you go from there?
I went into the hospitality industry. I was already, I think bussing tables by then, before then, so I became a waiter. Learning how to wait tables and how to interact with all kinds of different people. Nice people, mean people, everything. And so I was really good at it. And I made really good money. But it wasn't satisfying, I knew I wasn't going to be doing that, for the rest of my life. What to do next? I called my sister in Gainesville, Florida. Her and her husband were living there. It was summer in Naples. You can't find a hospitality job in the summer. All the snowbirds leave. Like, it goes from 100,000 to like 40,000. And so I was like, I'm not going to be able to find a job. So I called her in Gainesville. Hey, can I move up there with you? I'm thinking about going to school. Because Gainesville, Florida, University of Florida, Gators, a couple community colleges. So they did. They let me. Okay, I got to stop. We got to stop real quick. Pause. Let's go to another room. We have to open. We were supposed to get here earlier, but, I had to get kids to gymnastics and whatnot. But let's go take it to the back.
All right.
Cool. All right, so where do we leave off? Oh yeah, that's right. We were talking about going to college, and so decided to become an electrician. I ended up getting my journeyman's card before I graduated, so like in 3.5 years. It's typical to get it after 4 years, but it's also very common not to pass the first time. So I was able to get that in Florida. So that was my first time I got my electrical license, got my master's in Florida, started my business, Kite and Key Electric. But about a couple months after getting my license, starting my business, my, not newly wife now, we've been married about a year and a half. She's a doctor, and she got an offer to go to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. And so, as a surgeon, you don't turn that down. As a doctor, you don't turn that down. And so, yeah, as fast as I ramped up building the business to get it going, I had to ramp it back down, sell everything off. And we moved to Baltimore. So went to Baltimore, was a stay-at-home dad. Wasn't sure if I wanted to do it again, but I did. I had to take the test again because Maryland and Florida did not reciprocate. So I was able to pass that. So did that, grew it to 5 employees in Baltimore. I had 3 trucks. I started a generator business. We started doing home generators. We were a Generac dealer.
Under the same umbrella, under the same company?
Yep. I just created a DBA called Baltimore Generators. I bought a Toyota Tacoma, wrapped it with Baltimore Generators, put a topper on it, and then put a empty generator shell on top of that.
Oh, okay.
So I was basically a mobile generator ad. It was pretty dope. We were there from 2012 to 2015. We were only there for 3 years. But we knew we couldn't stay there. Baltimore is a tough town. Mm-hmm. It's a tough town. We decided that because of my daughter having Down syndrome, our youngest, she's 8 now, but at the time she was 1. We have support here in Denver. Her aunt, actually, my sister-in-law, works with Down syndrome children.
Oh, okay.
Has a great network with the Down syndrome community here, even all the way to in on-shoots at the Children's Center. So that was where we had to make a decision. Right? It was Austin, Boston, or Denver. That was the main component of why we came here, to have that support. She's doing great, by the way. She's Down syndrome, but great kiddo and full of life. So here I am in Denver, and of course the same thing happens. I decided to start another company. I knew I could do it again. Man, it just didn't get. I've done it already. It's like not much more is going to be that interesting because I'm just going to repeat what I did in Baltimore, and so I begrudgingly still did it. I needed to do something. So I think around that same time though is when I watched that documentary Sneakerheads. Have we talked about that yet? Mm-mm. Being a stay-at-home dad, begrudgingly starting another electrical company, but not really having a lot of passion to just go after it. And watching that Sneakerheads documentary on Netflix.
Too fair, come on. I can't do this. Come on, 220. And I'll put you in a movie.
How long had you been in Denver when you were doing all these mental calculations of where you wanted to take your life?
So we moved here December 15, and it was September 16 that I watched this documentary. And at this time, we've been living here for about 8 months. My 15-year-old nephew, he was a little sneakerhead. Didn't have a lot of sneakers, but he knew about them. Knew all about them. And, we'd go hang out. Hey, Uncle Andy, check out these. Hey, Uncle Andy. We'd be at the mall. Hey, Uncle Andy, this is Boost. Hey, Uncle Andy, that's a Jordan 4. And I was like, cool. He told me about that documentary. Hey, check out this new documentary. And I did. It did something to me. Mm-hmm. I was like, what is this? What is this world? That's this community, right? It showed the good and the bad. It showed, just the collections and people being happy and just what it did to them. It showed people going after them on the computer, getting an L or standing in line. Even the bad where people are stealing your shoes, fucking killing you. Like, I found it fascinating. Oh, this is what Mateo's been talking about. And so I told him, hey, I saw the documentary. When's the next drop? First time I ever used that word. He goes, the reverse shatter backboard ones. All right, let's go after them. So that was it was 1 week. I think it was a Monday. Saturday was drop day. But I ended up getting 4 pair. That was all she wrote. Yeah, I was hooked. I ended up selling a pair right away on eBay like that for $350. It was one of those things where I found it interesting. Very interesting. Oh my God. I need to know more about this. Bro, I started going ham over fist buying and selling, right? For about a few months, that really hit, I hit a wall quickly. Basically I went through all the phases I think a new sneakerhead will go through. So I would say by, September, probably by that summer, I was re-evaluating. Do I really want to do this? Is this the direction I want to go in? I was getting 20, 30 pairs shipped to me at a time. My wife was like, what the hell? And I went hard, super hard. After that, I kind of laid low for a couple months. And then the Win Like 82s and the Win Like 9611s dropped. I ended up figuring out access to Europe. I was able to get 250 pair. I was consigning at Notorious. I became well known at Notorious. I'm bringing all these pairs in. I ended up hanging out in Notorious a lot. They ended up finding out I was a business guy. And I got the attention of the owners. I would say through the holidays, so this would have been 17, starting into 18, around January, they asked me to become a partner. That was not something I was expecting. I've never been in this position where I am a major sneakerhead by this point, major. I have, at the time, one of the best stores. They're asking me now to partner with them. I could maybe bring some change. I could probably make a difference. It's not like I'm starting the business. It's already a functioning, ready to go business. I'm just gonna make it better. I decided I would. For 3 months, all I did was I would go in multiple times a day and I would hang out. They actually trusted me to start working. They even allowed me into their computer system. Vision just started growing. New brand people trying to sell their brand would come in and I'd have great conversations with them. Music artists would come in. I'd have great conversations with them. I was like, this thing's way, way more than just shoes and apparel. One of the big moments for me was lining up for the Sean Weatherspoons. I ended up doing a camp out at Feis's. They're closed now. There was a big lineup. I got there. I was number 40 in line. So I decided to use that opportunity to walk the line and ask them, what do you think about Notorious? So with, a somewhat positive response, I decided, okay, let's move forward. About 3 months, though, of several meeting attempts. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. So doing a final ownership agreement meeting. Boom, let's go. Finally got them to agree. 10 a.m. on Thursday. I'm driving in. Let them know I'm coming in. I get a phone call. And, they're like, hey, sorry. He's half asleep. Oh, we missed our flight last night. We just got home. I'm like, what? And, I understand things happen. I said, but call me. You could have called me. So I was upset. I'm not gonna lie. I was mad. I turned around and I knew about this spot. It was actually a spot that Northfield went to Notorious and said, hey, we got a spot. Would you be interested? And Notorious was actually, thinking about it. So I went to that spot. I went, and in 2 hours of turning around, I was agreeing to renting that spot with no merch, no experience, no anything.